So, Philip, one of the things that you had loads of problems with was maintaining that building. And I know there were times when it was really quite dire, wasn't it?
It certainly was. There were many times when we were so short of money, it was difficult to keep the place running on a day-to-day basis. But we just about scraped through. It led us to consider all kinds of possibilities. When I took over, shall I say, the hall owned a big building nearby called Lindell Court, and it also owned tennis courts there. There's a block of flats been built over the top. So the first thing we had to do, whether we liked it or not, was to consider selling assets. And we sold first the tennis courts. That they were obvious, I suppose, looking back. And then we sold the building known as Lindell Court. That was a pity because the then caretaker lived in one of the parts of Lindell Court. So he had to move out and we had to find a house for him, which we did on the neighbouring Buckingham Road. But there we were then with no property assets whatever. We struggled on for a number of years, getting ever more dire as far as money was concerned. So we began to consider other things. What about knocking down the rear hall, the one that's used now as a children's playgroup? Knocking that down and building a block of flats there that we could let. That was one suggestion. Another suggestion was to knock the hall down, the back hall down, and make a car park there, because parking of cars is not easy nowadays with a main road straight outside the front of the hall. It's schemes like that that the trustees considered. Almost anything that we could reuse the hall in a different way in order to produce more income. That's how I would sum it up. But it occupied a great deal of our time over many years, but none of the schemes that we envisaged came about. None of them. And we, in the end, decided we'd have to make more finance out of our customers. And so, we had to keep raising rates in all kinds of ways that produced just a bit more income.
And do you think that hall is just determined to continue to be part of the community and to serve the community, because it seems to have a will of its own?
Yes, I do. There are other local halls, one particularly built by the local authority, but there isn't the same community interest in any of them. It's the Memorial Hall that is at the centre of the community, and that's what I think, that was the motive that inspired us to struggle on in any way we could. And that's what we had to do for many years. And then, efforts did become rewarded, because towards the end of my period there, we were, I won't say affluent, but we were considerably more affluent than we had been for the previous 40 years. And things looked up. We were even able to employ a number of people on the caretaking cleaning side, so that the then hall manager was able to be the manager rather than part-time caretaker as well.
So at one point, all you had was a part-time caretaker?
That's it.
For the whole of that hall?
That's right. That's what we had. No other paid professional help whatever. No. But as I say, towards the end of my time, it became possible to employ other people, and that was a tremendous relief.
Well, it would have been, because it's a very big hall to sort of
It
look
is.
after on
It is
your
indeed.
own. On your own. So you've seen it go from really being on the very brink of
Yes.
possibly being closed
Yes.
or possibly being knocked down, full circle to being what John Roberts wanted it to be, a thriving hall for the benefit of the community.
That's right. That's exactly the position, yes. So we were fulfilling his intention, and we finally became it became possible for us to really do just that. Yes, and that was towards the end of my time there.
And so, with this last little bit of the grants that have been obtained to assist with the refurbishment works, that's almost like coming full circle, isn't it?
It is indeed, yes. And of course, since I left the hall, it's been possible to raise enough money to replace the hall in the front, in the floor in the main hall. A very expensive matter indeed, but we've been assisted with a number of grants for that purpose.
So thank you again very much for giving us yet another insight into the history of the hall. As I said, I think she's a game old lady. She doesn't intend to go anywhere. She seems to have a lot of people who love her, and I think she'll be there for another 100 years.
Good. That would please all of us who've served the hall over the last 50 and a bit more.
Thank you very much.